Hey everybody, it's Kang and Camilla. We're joined by Amber from Arbitrage with Amber. Welcome to the series on reselling resellers pursuing financial independence. This will be a monthly series where we talk about financial independence and learn from other resellers in this community about financial independence and what it is to them and their strategies on retiring comfortably. We're so glad you could join us. And if you're watching the replay, please leave a comment, let us know that you were here, and let us know that you stopped by and watched. We'd love to hear from you. And today, Amber joins us, and so why don't you tell the crowd who you are, and I'm curious about the origin of your name. If it's retail arbitrage mainly, or if you plan to do geo arbitrage when you retire.
Yes, I'm Amber. I've been a part-time reseller now since about July 2019. Really got started with just flipping one single Patagonia, and here I am now. I'm looking at doing $40,000 this year in sales, just part-time on my own. So very excited for that. As for my name, I really wanted something with alliteration that included my name. And the definition of arbitrage is just taking something from one market and selling it in another market for a different price. So for me, that's taking something local, selling it online. But you mentioned geo arbitrage. I would love to do that in the future. Um, I work remote right now, so I probably could do that at some point. I don't know how my bosses would feel right now, but definitely an option. I actually studied abroad in Thailand while in college. So the cost of living there was so much cheaper. So I definitely feel like I could do that at some point when I retire, go back and live in Asia.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. So, anyone in the audience who doesn't know, geo arbitrage is a term for when you live somewhere that is a much lower cost of living. And you maybe have a remote job or you just like take advantage of the fact that it's a lower cost of living. So, people did that during the pandemic. They moved from, a city out to, a rural area and, paid less in rent or whatnot. But on a global scale, it can mean moving to a country that has a lower cost of living.
Yeah. And Patagonia for the first thing you sold, man, I would be hooked immediately if that were. I kind of have a similar story where one of my personal favorites is selling Lululemon, and that sold very quickly for like $60. I was like, okay, there's something to this.
Right.
Okay, so that's awesome. So glad that people can know a little more about you. Hey, Hustlin' Hooks, Rocky Mountain Resell, It's Fire for Me, Jeremiah Wilson. Thanks so much for coming, y'all.
Yeah, we're so glad to have you guys. Hustling Hook says, first time hearing that term, we will be doing that once we get this operation steaming. Yeah.
Yeah, and they are starting to really ramp up. So awesome for the Hooks. Their journey has been really inspiring to us because they're one of the first couples that we started watching on YouTube, and they are also on the financial independence journey. So you should definitely go check them out if you haven't already. But why don't we start with some quick icebreaker questions? We like to call this the quick six. So why don't you go first?
Okay. So the first question is cooking at home or going out to eat?
Ooh, okay. For someone who wants to retire early, I'd probably eat out a little bit more often than I should. For me right now, so I work full time, I resell, and I'm finishing up my MBA for grad school right now. So time is very important to me, and I definitely keep that in mind. With that being said, I definitely think I should probably eat at home more, but
That's okay. That's okay. Your favorite meal, since I guess this is more of a follow up to that. What is your favorite meal to go on? I guess maybe a first date, or your favorite restaurant that maybe your date would take you to.
okay, I love Chili's, like the restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
They have like a 2 for
Two for
25 where you
20.
get like an
2 for
appetizer,
25. Yes.
entrees, and a dessert. I'm always so full by the end, but I always just I gotta eat that molten lava cake or the cookie, whatever we decide on. I have been on a date to Chili's, at least one, probably more than one. It did not end up well. So
Oh no.
that's also one thing about
Okay.
my Instagram. I will share my dating stories. So if anyone's interested in that, follow along.
Yeah. That's why this question was in there. It's very relevant to you. Okay, so low risk, steady returns, or high risk, huge potential.
Probably the low risk steady returns. I post everything that I sell, and you see me selling a lot of like Harley Davidson, Carhartt, Nike over and over again because I know that I can flip them and get that consistent return and usually a quick sale, which I appreciate.
Yeah, us too for sure.
Yeah. So if you won $500,000 in the lottery, would you do one lump sum or would you do payments over time?
I would first hire a financial advisor
All right.
take me through all of the scenarios. $500,000 would like significantly push me towards my FI number. So, but steady payments over time like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Part of me says take a lump sum and just invest it now.
Right.
And buy index funds, whatever, and I'd probably
Just let it
go with
ride.
that.
Yeah. We
Yeah.
would probably take the lump sum.
Yeah, and invest it. Yeah.
Yeah. So yes or no to olives?
Olives? Yeah, I'll eat olives.
Oh, okay. Same for her, but I don't eat them.
He ate some.
Mm.
And what's your dream vacation spot?
Ooh, I want to go to Bali so bad. It looks so beautiful. Everything's really cheap there too. It's just like flights are $1,000 and you have to travel for like over a day, basically.
Yeah. It's quite
So,
the
Yeah.
flight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Say
Oh
hi
my
to
gosh.
Ginger Marvin, Amber Resells, and Samantha Darbon. Hey, thanks so much for coming and watching, y'all.
Yeah, Amanda says she's eating Qdoba.
Amber.
She watches. And then Samantha says your Tinder date stories are fun on your Instagram. And Ginger Marvin says olives are disgusting. So you got one vote, Kang.
All right. Okay, so before we begin, we just need to say very quickly that this is not meant to be financial advice in any way. It's just for entertainment purposes. Don't get us in trouble. Okay. And then our working definition for financial independence is when your investments, savings, or passive income is greater than or equal to your expenses. And that really means that you no longer have to work for money if you don't want to. So basically getting to do what you want, without having to worry about money. So do you have anything to add to that?
I think one thing is that like you can still work if there's something that's really fulfilling to you. There's plenty of times when I hear about someone's job and I'm like, oh, that sounds really fun. But if it doesn't pay a lot, I'm not super interested in it right now. I think like being a tour guide would be super fun at some like fun touristy destination and just like talking to people who are traveling all day long. I think that would be fun on a very part-time basis. So
Yeah, definitely about having the choice of having a job. That's really one very important thing that we've talked about. And, I think that the reselling community understands that, right? That there's this link with not wanting to work for someone and, this financial independence thing. We feel like there is a bridge to be made here. So that's why we really love talking to resellers about financial independence, because I think people, they get it,
So can you just tell us a little bit about your FI journey, how you found financial independence, what ways are you kind of pursuing it right now? What does that look like for you?
Yeah, so when I was in college, I was a double major in business and economics, and I actually had a summer internship as a financial planning intern. And one of my managers, she was like, when it's slow, you can just read like things about the finance industry, like blogs that you find online. And so I was like, okay, finance blogs. And the first one that I found was actually Making Sense of Sense. And so I read a ton of her posts. She travels full time with her husband, and she like writes for her blog full time now. And she posts all of her annual financial reports, which I thought was so interesting. And then so after I read like years of her blog, I was like, okay, who else is out there? And of course, stumbled across Mr. Money Mustache and read all of his blog. And at that point in time, I had started a full-time job. I was like, I'm supposed to do this for the next 40 years? Like, no, I'm going to save and invest a bunch of money and hopefully get out of this like full-time corporate world way before then. So I have since moved to a job that I like much more. So good news.
That's awesome. That's really good. Tell us about Campphi. Was it as great as you hoped it would be? Tell us about that.
Yes. So over Labor Day weekend, I signed up for Campphi, and it was a 3-day kind of like finance conference, but in a camp style, where it was held at a retreat center in Minnesota. There's a beautiful lake. So we would spend the morning time listening to different speakers, some about finance. There was a YouTube speaker, Gabby Wallace. She runs an account called Go Natural English, where she has over 1 million subscribers.
Oh,
And she was talking about the financial aspect of that, how she said she hasn't put out a video in months and she's still getting these checks from YouTube because she's still getting so many views. And
wow.
she talked about how she would be like recognized out in public. And I was like, wow, that's really cool. So I like followed her and everything afterwards. But besides that, then in the afternoon, we had kind of a open discussion, and you could go in different groups and talk about whatever you wanted. So one day there was like a side hustle group or a group on taxes, because we're all like nerds and that's interesting. And then we would just have like free time in the afternoon to talk. And I thought I was going to be the youngest person there, so I'm only 24. There was someone there who was 18. Like,
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, he was like very interested, and he told his dad, and his dad's like, okay, we'll go. And so they went together, and it was nice to see that they could enjoy that together. But it was so interesting to just like talk to different people. And a lot of people work in the tech industry like me. And so I would introduce myself and say my job, and they would just like know what I did, and I didn't have to explain it to them, which was so nice.
Nice.
And people were very interested to hear about reselling, and asking me all these different types of questions of, oh, if I want to sell my clothes, where should I start? And like, have you ever thought about selling this? And so it was an incredible weekend, just like hear people's ideas. And actually from that, there was another woman there. She was talking about how she asked all of her coworkers how much they make so that she can do salary negotiations and she's prepared. And I was like, I'm going to do that. And so I asked my male counterpart at work how much money he was making. He started a month before me. We had similar experience, and he was making more money than me, even though I was leading a larger development team. And so I was like, my gosh. And I was like, what do I do? And like people were giving me advice and talking me through it. And then I did go to my manager, and I was like, I haven't been here long, but I am doing more work than him. What's up with this? And then the company went through layoffs, and so I did not get a raise.
No.
And off. So it was really, I posted part of that on my Instagram stories, and then I never post a resolution. I have people like messaging me like, hey, did you ever get that raise? And I'm like, no.
Oh, man. Well, you can tell them to come here and listen to this video.
Yeah, right. So anyways, like I learned a lot from Campphi. I definitely think it was worth it, also for the connections with other people. So I would definitely recommend going. I went to one in Minnesota, but they also have like California, Colorado, Texas, and then maybe another one, but highly recommend.
Sounds great. I'm so glad to hear that you had a great time. Do you feel like you were more enthusiastic talking about your job, your full-time job, or reselling?
Definitely reselling.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know. It's just like, this is my own thing that I've created, and I'm in control of it. Whereas my full-time job, it is great. I do like my coworkers. I definitely enjoy the paycheck, but there is also, just listening to what other people need me to do. And I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm definitely, I want to do my own thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So where would you say you currently are on the financial independence journey? And what are you currently,
so I'm still obviously
you currently doing kind of in pursuit of that?
Okay, so yes, so I work full time, and I work in tech, so there's good money there. I'll probably stay there hopefully for a while. And then I'm working on my side hustle. And, the MBA is also kind of a tool there to use that to leverage for a raise someday. So those are the main things. And then obviously I'm investing very aggressively. This year, I should be able to max out all of my retirement accounts, and
All
I've
right.
put more money away in a taxable brokerage account. So I'm like hitting all these milestones. I have a very nice Excel spreadsheet, like doing data visualization of everything, which as a nerd, like I love that part of it.
Yeah.
So it's nice to see the incremental progress over time,
That's
even if
great.
it is kind of far off in the future.
Yeah, we're doing very similar things, and it's so fun to talk to other people who are doing very similar things.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
is that
So, no, let me ask a question. So, would you say like your main vehicle for your retirement is kind of your investments, and are they mostly in index funds or individual stocks, or what does that kind of look like?
Right.
Are you
So right
looking
now
to get into like rentals or anything like that?
Yeah, right now it's mostly investments. I would be interested in rentals. My parents used to be landlords. They said they hated it. They don't do it anymore. So, but other than that, I do invest in a lot of index funds. I dabble in other stocks as well. When I was in college, I dated this boy who interned for Tesla, and he was like, I think you should buy some Tesla stock. And that was great finance advice. I'm up like $11,000 at this
all right?
point.
It's gone up so much in the last 2 weeks.
Right. I was like, oh, I should have bought more.
Yeah.
So I do both with investing. Some individual stocks, some just plain old index funds.
Yeah. Well, we are in a very similar state too, where we're doing mostly index funds, and I used to, dabble with stocks, and we have 10 shares of Tesla, and so it's not a lot, but it is a lot,
Right.
because they're at like $1,100 right now. But we totally get that. It's just a few small things that you did in the past that affect your journey right now.
Right.
So just want to say hi to Blue Consignment and eBay Addicts. Macy over at Blue Consignment says, she wishes that she could see your spreadsheet.
Yeah, she wants a copy of the spreadsheet. You could probably sell that spreadsheet.
Well, so I bought one on Etsy. So if you're looking for one, it's called My Wealth Dashboard, and I follow this account on Instagram. It's her side hustle is making these spreadsheets. They're beautiful. They have instructions on what to fill in. So
nice.
Cool.
That's awesome. Okay, so a quick follow-up with our other question is that, how long do you think your journey will take when you're to the point where you're comfortable enough to say, okay, well, maybe I'll just do this reselling thing part-time, and just live off of that whenever I want to?
So right now, my goal is to be financially independent sometime in my 30s, which is kind of broad, but I'm only 24 right now, so time is on my side, and I'm investing very aggressively right now. So I don't know. We'll see. I think when my company did go through layoffs, I, thought to myself, I was like, okay, if I have to take reselling full time right now, like, could I do that and be okay? And I was like, I probably make enough money that I could live off of here in Iowa. My savings rate would absolutely plummet, but I would day to day maybe be having more fun doing my own thing, running my own business, and really being in control of all of my free time. So I think even after I retire, I probably could resell some amount. Maybe, I don't know. Right now, it takes up a good chunk of my time. So we'll see.
Yeah, we totally get that.
Yeah. So is that the plan for like when you reach financial independence for you to retire and then like kind of resale, or just fully retire, or just keep working if you like your job? What kind of do you have in mind for that?
Consulting at a part-time?
Maybe. I guess I really like to travel. I think like immediately once I hit that number, I'm probably going to travel for some extended amount of time, which I'm not able to do right now.
Mhm.
My company does have unlimited PTO, but I don't want to abuse that to where I'm like, I'm just going to take off 2 months because, you know, they might not really like that. So I definitely think like some sort of long-term traveling, slow travel where I go live somewhere for a while. And if I do that, reselling won't really be as much of an option unless I find someone here who just wants to ship all of my inventory for an unknown amount of time.
Right.
So travel is the main plan. And then I think I'll figure out what I want to do after that. Sometimes I'm like, should I just move to a different state every year until I've lived in them all? I just like think of these things and I'm like, you know, maybe.
Right. Yeah, we have this dream of, you know, traveling all throughout the US and visiting all of our reselling friends, doing something with the inventory, you know, going thrifting with them. No idea exactly what that plan would be, but that sounds like such a fun thing. So we would probably want to travel when we're retired too.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so so it sounds like, well, actually, you've already answered, but do you have any other things in the pipeline other than investing in index funds? You know, other than what you mentioned about your parents with real estate, have you considered any other sort of vehicles that? Well, I guess other than reselling, I don't know. You seem to have a lot on your plate, so I don't know if this question is even relevant.
I mean, you know, I just started a YouTube channel today. Everyone go subscribe.
Yeah, everyone go subscribe.
Hopefully I can monetize that at some point. I'll be the next Gabby Wallace with 1 million subscribers. So we'll see. That's probably the next thing. Sometimes I think about like publishing books online or like the people who publish journals on Amazon where they just like design it in Canva and then upload it and Amazon prints it and does mostly everything else. I'm like, should I get into that? Like, it's one of those things where I'm sure from the outside it seems like, oh yeah, that's really easy. But I'm sure there's a lot more to it once you get into it. So
yeah, those are a lot of great choices. It sounds like you've thought a little bit about it. Blue Consignment Macy asked, what's the channel name?
Oh, it was a TikTok that I saw. I don't remember what it's called.
Oh no, she's asking you what your channel name is, I think.
Oh, my channel name? Yeah. Arbitrage with Amber. Some people told me that they searched it on YouTube and couldn't find it, but I put a link in my Instagram stories right now and in my link tree. You can find it there.
Awesome.
Do you have a link in the description?
I put your Instagram in the description, but I don't think I have the YouTube in there just yet. But we'll definitely get that for you.
Yeah, perfect. I mean, I just made it an hour ago, so
perfect timing for this.
Yeah.
Great time to spread the word.
Yeah. And Hustling Hook says they are businesses that actually store and ship only for resellers. Yeah, there's one, eBliss. They are out of Denver. And it's like, if you're thinking about it in terms of like profits only, it's hard. Like, I can see how you wouldn't want to do it. But if you're thinking like, I want to travel and I want to thrift and I don't want to have to keep my inventory, it's actually pretty good because it kind of makes it pretty passive for you because you just like take the pictures and upload them and then, you know, that's it. So it's like really good if you want to travel and thrift. And then Charlotte says, hi from the UK. It's 1:19 a.m. over here. Wow, I can't believe you're up so late. That's crazy.
Thanks for joining us, Charlotte.
That's awesome. We're so happy to have you.
And it looks like Macy found the channel. Thank you so much for linking that, Macy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's perfect timing to create a channel right before going on a live. That's a good way to get some momentum.
Yeah.
It's hard at the beginning. It's really hard to get like good momentum. We had a lot of our friends and family subscribe and they were like, what is this weird thing that you're doing? So why are you selling trash on the internet?
You know, we would love to see more reselling and financial independence related things. we kind of feel like we're almost on an island. We know that there are pockets of people that are pursuing financial independence, but they don't talk about it as much. So
Mhm.
I don't know. If you wanted to do a similar thing to us, we would totally welcome that.
Yeah.
But
for sure.
I'll invite you guys on my channel.
yeah,
Yeah.
that would be great. So here's a pretty related but random question. Do you think that reselling would ever get boring for you?
Um, I mean, maybe. If I stick with everything I'm doing now and I just see the same Harley Davidson, Carhartt, Nike, Patagonia over and over again, maybe. But I think every once in a while finding that one thing that's like really great and you're like, oh my gosh, this sells for so much money and I just bought it for $4. Like those are the kind of things that like really make it exciting. Or I had someone on Facebook buy a $500 bundle from me. Like,
Oh yeah.
I remember that.
she like sent me all these pictures. She's like, "Are all of these available?" And I was like, yeah, I can do 500 for everything." And like it looked kind of scammy for a while, but the PayPal money went through. She signed for delivery. The money's mine. The inventory's gone. So things like that definitely like make it fun and like break up any monotony that there is. And I also really like traveling to thrift. So I've driven up to Minnesota a few times. There's obviously like a pocket of resellers up there. There's so many more resellers there than like in Iowa that I noticed, because when you're a reseller, you can kind of like look at someone else in the thrift store and be like, oh yeah, they're a reseller.
Yeah.
And just like the difference in going to the Goodwill outlet in Minnesota versus in Des Moines. In Minnesota, I like went the wrong way down an aisle and like some lady yelled at me and she's like, "Yeah, you have to go that way." And I was like, I didn't want to go that way. Like the new bins are this way, but okay, I'll follow the rules. Whereas in Des Moines, you can just like all over, and I like bounce back and forth the whole time I'm there. So I definitely enjoy traveling to thrift. And I'm going to Kansas City on Friday, and I will definitely be stopping at some thrift stores. So if anyone watching this knows any, drop them in the comments.
All right.
Yeah.
So as far as you going to travel to thrift,
Mhm.
where would you rate Des Moines in all the other places comparatively? Is like 5 out of 10 or out of 10 comparatively?
I mean, Des Moines not bad. Obviously, I'm making it work, but I think where you go, part of it is knowing the thrift stores and knowing when the coupons are and the sales happen and when they bring out the new racks and what the rules are at the stores. Like that's all very important. I don't know, maybe like a 6 or a 7 out of 10. I don't envision many resellers being like, I need to come to Des Moines. Like you're not really going to find any like designer brands.
Right.
So
Yeah, but it makes it almost more fun when you do like find something really good.
right.
I feel like sometimes reselling is almost like Vegas or like gambling, where it's like, you lose. Not really, but like you get like kind of like basic things, and then all of a sudden you get this like jackpot, and it's like this dopamine hit, and you don't know when it's coming next, so you just like keep digging,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, so we've got a question here, Samantha. So what are your top tips for selling on Facebook Marketplace?
Yeah, we want to know those too, because we're still new to Facebook Marketplace.
You can find out on my YouTube channel.
There you go, content.
So for me, I post a lot on Facebook. When I started out reselling, or when I kind of got serious, I was like, I'm going to list 5 items a day. But for me at this point, I sell a lot of lower priced items, like in that $10 to $20 range. So that really wasn't enough to be hitting my goals. So now I set a dollar amount for what I want to list every day, which recently has been like $250 to $300 on Facebook Marketplace. And you have to make sure with that you're not like pricing your items super high just to like reach that goal and be done listing for the day. So 1 is list a lot. 2, something I've been experimenting with more recently is promotions. So I posted a bit about this on Instagram. I really like the % off promotions because Facebook will only let you do a discount for up to 30% of the price. So if you do like a $10 off promotion, I can't apply that to anything less than $30 I have listed. So I'll do like a 20% off discount for like a weekend. And then people see a countdown underneath the price of this price only lasts this long for 24 hours. And I think that kind of lights a fire under them. Like, if you want this, you better buy it now.
Wow.
And so that really helped. Facebook's free shipping promotion, like stacked with that 20% off promotion. Like, I had a ton of sales in October from that. They're kind of slowing down now that that free shipping promotion's over, but I would say keep listing, renew your items when you can, and then that delete and relist button, as well as manually relisting sometimes. I know that's like not a fun thing, but then like Facebook is like, oh, this is brand new. We need to show this to people. And also when you're scrolling on the Facebook Marketplace app, on that main page, they have the different sections of like women's clothing, just in, price reduced. And so you kind of want to try to be in as many of those categories as you can. So if like women's clothing and then anything old, I'll drop the price on it. And then boom, it's showing up under women's clothing and price reduced, or the just in items. Like, so there's a lot of different things you kind of just have to play around with when you get out there. But just like keep going, keep listing.
Try a little bit of everything, experiment.
Yeah.
So do you have a business on Facebook Marketplace? Because we've been trying to figure that out. They keep denying us. We got to figure it out.
We're a legit business. I don't know why they denied us.
Right. So I talked a bit about this on Amber Resell's channel. We did a little Facebook live kind of like this. And so I just use my personal account to sell on Facebook Marketplace. Okay. And I think that builds trust with buyers, because then they can go to my profile. They see that my Facebook page has been up since 2009, and they say, oh, this is a real person. And you can make your like profile settings very private, so they can't see, where you work and your birthday and all of that. But they can tell that there's a real person behind the account. And I think that really helps. I have seen that if you start a business page on Facebook, they're waiving the 5% selling fee through like, I want to say June. I haven't really looked into that, but I'm in an online Facebook group for resellers, and a lot of people are saying like, oh, I made a business page and I transferred over all my listings and I'm not getting any views at all. So I think that's kind of like my fear if I switch at this point, and then all the work to move them over and then move them back if it doesn't work. But I might play around with it and see.
Yeah. Well, there's some content for you for your Facebook, your YouTube channel. You can talk all about it, and hopefully, Samantha, you're already subscribed to Amber. Yes. So that's kind of relevant here. Hassan Hooks asked, what will your YouTube channel focus on? You talked a little bit about it, but I also saw that you were taking a poll on your Instagram. You got any good ideas from those?
Someone did say they want to see dating stories already. I don't know about that. We'll see. Maybe if I ever do like YouTube live, like that'll be the bait to get people to join. Like, hey, I'm going to tell you about my dating fails. Come listen. So probably like mostly reselling, or at least that's where I'm going to start out at. Obviously, a lot of people want to hear about Facebook, and I've figured that out. I am an expert at Facebook. So I'll probably start there and then just kind of see where it goes. I recently won a Poshmark giveaway for $500. So I kind of want to do like, I won $500. Here's what I bought. Because also like as a reseller, like I have that amount of credit in my account. It's very hard for me to spend that. I was like, oh, this Farm Rio sweater for $250. So cute. I cannot buy it, even though it'd technically be like free to me. Like I just cannot get myself to do it. I bought some IKEA bags. I bought myself a Disney Spirit jersey because I didn't want to buy one for $75 when I went to the parks. So right now it might be a really boring YouTube video. We'll see what else I buy and if I actually make that video. We'll see. My parents, they're also they're very, very part-time. They have a booth here at a local antique store. So they focus on a lot of like beer signs, beer mugs, other antiques. So I kind of got started from them. So I don't know, maybe I'll do a little like Q&A with them.
Yeah, that sounds fun.
Yeah, I feel like people are always really interested in like people who have booths because like people love that. It's like another thing that not a lot of resellers do, but like resellers are always trying to kind of like get into that space, you know?
Right.
So
And
I
it-
always see that in channels.
And if you were wanting to travel full time, like a booth would be great, you know, stock it
Mhm.
before you leave. You can come back in a month or two
Mhm.
and see how you did. So
Yeah,
Nice.
exactly.
You ever are you afraid at all about kind of this idea of imposter syndrome when you start this YouTube channel or when you decided to do it? Because we kind of felt that. I don't know if we're
Mhm.
completely over it yet.
yeah, so I feel that sometimes. I don't remember where I heard this quote, but someone said you are a relative expert at anything you do on a regular basis.
Mhm.
So even at this point, if you guys are not like YouTube superstars, you know more than the average person because you've put out videos, you know how to go live, you respond to comments, all of that. And so you're more of an expert at YouTube than most people out in the world. And so when I think about that related to like reselling or like running an Instagram or like just the various things that I do, I'm like, yeah, sometimes I'm like, oh, I just started this in 2019. Like I'm still very new. But then when I compare myself to the average person compared to the resellers that I see who are killing it out there, I'm like, okay, I'm doing pretty good.
Yeah.
And so really it's all relative when you are comparing yourself. Not that you should, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's totally how we feel, at least with the financial independence thing.
Mhm.
That's why we want to talk more about it. And so I think that's like the main thing that spurred us to do this YouTube channel. So we totally feel that in at least a small way.
Mhm. Yeah.
So Macy said, I'm really impressed with Amber's Instagram presence. How much time do you spend on it a week?
So this past week I haven't posted as much, but I usually try to do like 4 posts a week. And so one of those is a what sold. And then I'm like, okay, I need 3 other things, a reel, other posts. Oh, my screen time's really bad, you guys. Like I looked at it the other day. I watched like 2 hours of TikToks. I spent like over an hour on Instagram. So like the amount of time I spend on Instagram is not always working on presence. But part of it that I've learned about like growing your Instagram is that you want to share some amount of personal information, like not related to reselling, because that's what gets people to trust you and that's what kind of builds your brand. So when I talk about like my Tinder dating stories or like going to grad school or like the books that I'm reading, like those are all things where later people are like, oh, I went on a really bad Tinder date, and they'll like post something and they'll tag me in it. And I'm like, oh, perfect. I can reshare this. It's free content I didn't have to make. But when I'm out and doing something reselling related, I try to like take some sort of picture that I can then use later. Obviously, some photos like package stacks, those are really easy to just take one every Monday and it looks really nice. And those usually perform pretty well. But I've looked at my like top engagement Instagram posts, and a lot of the ones that perform really well are the ones where I'm hitting like a big milestone in terms of my revenue for the year or my 1 year of my Instagram account. That one did really well. Sometimes it's just like random posts that do really well. I went to the bins and I found a whoopee cushion costume. I was with my friend. I bought a whoopee cushion costume and like 2 other things. So we leave. I'm like, take a picture of me for my Instagram. It's just me holding the whoopee cushion, but it performed really well. The caption was nothing deep. It was like, this is going to be my dad's Halloween costume. And my mom ended up wearing it. But you kind of just have to see what people like. And the posts that don't do well, you can learn from them. So I had asked in my Instagram stories if people wanted to see like the financial breakdown, and a whole bunch of people voted yes. And I post like 2 different posts with that, and they did not perform very well. So I was like, are people seeing these and comparing themselves and feeling bad about how they're doing? Do people just not stop and stare at graphs when they're scrolling on Instagram? Do people hate me? Probably not that. You know, there's different things that contribute to how good those things do. And you just kind of have to figure it out as you go of what your followers are looking for. And so when I started out, I did look at some like really popular reseller Instagrams and kind of see what they were posting to get some ideas. And then as time goes on, you kind of figure out what you like to post and what photos you can easily get without it being like a whole photo shoot production. Like, I'm not into that.
Right. Wow. So
Yeah.
as far as you know, that one post about the finances, I wonder if it has anything to do with people just not being used to it. Like, people aren't used to talking about finances in
Right.
general, and that's kind of the FI breaking that down, the whole FI mindset. But
And I feel like a lot of resellers don't share their numbers. So like also maybe people aren't used to it, but for you guys and myself who are kind of at this crossroads of finance and reselling, like those are things that are really interesting to us.
Yeah.
So is it like, am I the only person who would think this is a good post? Maybe I'll try it again. We'll see.
Yeah, we found that sometimes like things that people say that they want are really what super fans want, but like the majority of your audience is not really engaged in that way.
That's a good point.
So you have to kind of differentiate between like your like dedicated people and like the wider people. But we wanted to say a bunch more people stopped by in the chat, and Glamma sent us our very first super chat. Thank you
so much, Glamma.
We love it. She
That's
said,
so exciting.
Hugs from the House of Glam. Oh my gosh, I love it.
Glamma is just the best.
Yeah,
she's amazing.
E-hug. And Profit Picker is here.
Hey, Burke.
And so is
Paul,
the flipping sports guy.
Also in Philly.
Yes, also was in Philly. That's why I said that. And Danielle from Yard Sales and Dreams. Glamma, of course.
Derek, ETL Flipper.
Yeah. And then
got a question.
Kelsey asked, were you initially nervous or embarrassed about making and posting on Instagram, and how do you get past that feeling? Especially, I feel like sometimes I always feel embarrassed like doing the stories that like my face is actually in and I'm like just talking to the camera. I feel very embarrassed about that. So I don't know if you like how you get past that, or I know that they, you know, all the Instagram people are always like, show your face in the stories. And I'm like, no.
So Kelsey, I actually am still embarrassed. One thing about I call it my business Instagram. I've never shared it on my personal Instagram. Like, there are very few people who know me in real life who follow this Arbitrage with Amber Instagram. And I don't know if it was because I was nervous of like, oh, what if I make this, have all my friends follow me, and then in 2 months I quit? Like, they're going to know that I failed. So I just like didn't post anything. And now I'm kind of thinking like, I'm going to wait to post on my personal Instagram until I hit this $40,000 goal for the end of the year. But I have like mentioned reselling on like different platforms, or I'll like share my referral codes, and like a handful of really close friends follow me. And there are like some very close friends that I have that like, they know about the account, but they don't follow it.
Yeah.
It's not that they don't support me. It's just that like, they're not into reselling. And I'm like, okay, this is fine. I have 3,000 other people who can look at my stuff.
Right.
But I think initially I was just lurking on all of these reselling Instagrams with my personal account, and I was looking at what they were posting. And I would occasionally like take pictures of my package stacks or like out thrifting, and I wouldn't post them anywhere. But in the back of my mind, I was like, if I ever start a reselling Instagram, I can use these as content. So that kind of helped me like build up some ideas when I was starting. And that definitely helped, just like having something to post, because a lot of times you're sitting there, you're like, oh, I need to post today. And for me, with my what sold posts, like they're really white and they stand out in my feed. So I need like a certain number of posts in between to like spread them out So
Mhm.
sometimes I like double post on Sundays to like get everything where I want it to be.
That
Um,
makes sense.
yeah. So you just got to start doing it until you get more comfortable with it. Talking in my stories at first, it was very uncomfortable. And I will like record it and I'll watch it several times before posting. So editing on YouTube, I'm sure is going to take me a while to get used to it. But once you start doing it, I found that adding closed captioning really helped because some people, such as myself, who have full-time jobs, who maybe watch Instagram stories at their desk, maybe can't have the sound on, but they want to know what you're saying.
That's
So
how it is for me.
Yeah.
So like turn on closed captioning, or my cousin just had a baby and she's like, I like the closed captioning because then I don't need the sound on and I'm not going to wake her up when I like watch your stories, because she's like, I want to know what you're saying.
Right.
So that's definitely a tip. Just be yourself.
Here's another tip. Glamma says, and never forget, everybody poops.
Yeah.
We just love Glamma.
Yeah.
She's always bringing so much humor to all of these.
And then, Samantha's other question is about, it's about kind of fear of getting hate and not being able to handle it. That kind of scares her off from creating like a social media presence. And so she wants to know if you've ever dealt with that.
So I don't know that really I've gotten much hate. I get weird DMs occasionally from men and I just delete them and move on with my life. But I was really nervous if I was posting about like, oh, look at all the good stuff I'm finding, that people would like still want to buy from me. And I have this one buyer. She's bought probably close to $700 worth of stuff from me at this point.
Wow.
She lives like an hour away. And she sent me a message one time on Facebook because she just like Venmos me now and I like pirate ship stuff out to her. So there's no fees. And she's like, I really admire what you're doing. She's like, I would love to thrift more, but I have 2 young kids. And so I can't really get down to Des Moines very often. And she's like, it's so smart that you're doing this to pay for your degree. I wish I'd been like you when I was young. And I was like, this is so nice. And like, that's something that I wasn't expecting when starting the Instagram. So like, don't be afraid of hate. Like, making the Instagram is definitely worth it and has helped me in so many ways. Like, I would not be here tonight if I had just been like following people on my personal account. Like, I would have not built any sort of reputation or credibility for myself as a reseller if no one else knows what you're doing.
Right.
Yeah.
Lesson Hooks has some very great advice too. Don't stress it. Those who love and support you, well, the others are not worth stressing about. Get out of your comfort zone. Trolls are a great reminder of how well you're doing compared to the dingy life that you're living. Mostly it's folks that need help. For sure.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. So we've got about 12 minutes left. And if you have any last questions, please, comment them. Otherwise, we've got some other questions to close this out.
Yeah. And one last tip from Hustling Hooks. They say, I love the hate. Each time I respond with love. And if that doesn't work, just a simple ignore.
That's great.
Yeah.
And that takes time. That takes time to build up, tough skin.
Yeah.
Thick skin.
I think it just helps, to know really kind of what you're about and to know really that it's like their reaction is not about you, and I also think part of it is having like real self-reflection of like when you have actually really done something wrong or said something wrong, to have that self-reflection so that when you know that you're not in a situation like that, you can be kind of honest with yourself of like, I don't need to feel guilty about this, or I actually do need to make some sort of amends or something like that. I think it just comes from really knowing like what your values are and all of that. But we have a this YouTube channel and, our Instagram, and I don't think that we really have that many trolls so far yet. I think.
Knock on wood.
Yeah, knock on wood. Even if they do come around, I think Kang usually responds to them and then says, don't look or something to me.
Yeah. Look at her wisdom.
Yeah.
It's one of the reasons why I married her.
Yeah. And Glama says, I think honestly, most people are well-intentioned. Think of the 98% that are supportive and enjoy the haters' attention from their mother's basement.
Okay, so like I said, if you have any last questions, please feel free But we've got the final four. What is your favorite finance-related book or YouTube or podcast or Instagram accounts that other people should be following?
So I really like My Wealth Diary on Instagram. She's the one who did the spreadsheets, and she's anonymous, but she posts a lot of her expenses, and she works in tech, lives in a high cost of living area. And so it's very interesting to see the differences or how low she gets her expenses compared to me here in Iowa. So I love seeing other people's numbers. Like, I just think it's so interesting. And when they share their cool money hacks of, oh, I did this and this, I think that's really interesting. I did go on a date with one guy one time who was like really into fire, and he was like double house hacking. Like, he had a house and an apartment, and like other people were paying the rent for both of them.
Wow.
Because he had to like travel for his job, and he also like travel hacked. But we lived too far away for him to like think it was worth it. And I was like, oh man.
Oh,
So anyways, I like following My Wealth Diary on Instagram. I guess now that I'm in it, like, she's probably one of the main people that I like follow. I still follow Mr. Money Mustache. Obviously, he's not posting as much anymore. But there were a couple of creators at Campphi. The physician on fire, he recorded a podcast live. And I got like a little 20 seconds at the end to talk about reselling.
That's awesome.
So
awesome. So I don't know that we talked about it, but do you do travel hacking? Do you have credit card hacking?
Yeah. So I'm probably not as intently as other people, but I definitely like play the game where I'm like, okay, discover 5% cash back this quarter on like these categories, and like Chase is these categories, and anything else is this card. So I definitely do that. I would like to get more into that, because I think especially with reselling, where I'm like buying a ton of inventory, putting that on a credit card and like getting those bonuses, like definitely a perk of reselling.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Glamma's got a question.
Yeah. So what is your favorite grocery hack?
Going on Tinder dates, having them pay for food, getting free meals.
Yes.
No, I'm kidding. In terms of groceries, I mean, I live in Iowa. Like, for the most part, like, my expenses are pretty low, and I'm a single person. I have a roommate. She buys her own groceries, but I maybe spend like $50 a week at Aldi or Walmart. So nothing in particular.
Our favorite grocery hack is to meal prep. We buy in bulk, and we try to prep throughout the week, or on Sundays for the week.
Yeah, and we probably only meet at half of our meals. So the other half we eat like vegetarian things, which is cheaper. And we like to always see what's on sale and what is clearance. So at Kroger near us, they always have like manager specials. So things that are about to expire, or things that are dented, or things that, they got too many of or something, and they like discount them. So we always check there first, and then decide what we're going to make from whatever is in the dented can section.
Yeah, and with the meat, we usually use it that day too. So it's very convenient. You're just buying the meat on sale.
Right, exactly.
Garage to Profit. Hey, thanks for coming by. Yvette Anderson, fellow Iowan.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just tried vegetarian meals. Yeah, you should definitely look into Indian meals. We love Indian-inspired meals.
Yeah, she says Glampa buys dinner, but she has to cook it. Tough. That is a tough life. King buys and makes for me.
Okay, so the next question was: there one specific reseller that got you into reselling? I think you talked about it earlier.
No.
Any social media presence that really inspired you?
There was actually a friend of mine from college. We sat next to each other in our first business class. Her name's Reselling with Rachel. And she was like, hey, I started reselling. Like, have you ever thought about this? And so she kind of got me into it. She started an Instagram before I did. So I kind of followed her lead. But then looking at some of the bigger resellers at the time, Haley's Hanger, Ashley Maybe, who has since taken a break, and then Emily Welch, who then rebranded as just a general lifestyle home influencer. So it's also interesting to see those people kind of like change as life goes on, and I'm sure my Instagram will change.
Right.
So we'll see.
Awesome.
Yeah. So let's see. Sarah came by. She said kids' bedtime, but wanted to pop in and say, hey, we're so glad you're here. And the ATL Flipper says Indian meals are the best, very spicy but good. And this was our next question. So Garage to Profit stole it. So
Perfect.
What
Perfect
are your
timing.
favorite items to sell?
So definitely Patagonia. So I source a lot of those online. I think people are really afraid to pay for those, but for me at this point, I know what they're going to sell for. And I will buy them on platforms that charge you, you know, a 20% fee like Poshmark, but then I sell them on Facebook that only has 5% fees, which also helps the profit margins. So I definitely like the rare printed Patagonia cinchillas, like the fleece. I have several here I need to list.
Nice.
But some of those are really nice because they get discontinued and they're no longer produced. And then the print just becomes really popular and people are willing to pay above retail price for it, which is my favorite.
Nice. That's the best. Greg asked, when will you be putting up your first YouTube video?
The pressure's
Greg,
on.
nice to see you. We'll see. So my current class, my capstone for my MBA ends December 5th. Maybe my first YouTube video will be that night and it will just be me pushing submit and then closing 20 tabs on my laptop. You guys want to see that?
Yeah. Put that on your stories as
right.
well.
I will.
Excellent.
So I don't have any specific date yet. Maybe I'll see if I get like really inspired by anything that people comment on my Instagram, or if I just like really want to procrastinate sometime, or if something is just like very time sensitive, then I'll put it up before then. But we'll say December. Merry Christmas.
Nice.
Nice.
Okay, so the last question, or really just plug yourself. Where can people find you? And you know, some people joined recently, so tell them your YouTube channel as well.
Yes, so they can find me on Instagram at Arbitrage with Amber, underscores between the words. And about 2 hours ago, I started a YouTube channel. So if you want to be in my first 100 subscribers, now is your chance. That's linked on my Instagram, in my link tree, and in my stories right now. You can click on that. So that is where you can find me right now. Maybe I'll expand with time. Maybe I'll try Twitter, or I am also on TikTok. I only have one video posted, also Arbitrage with Amber.
Nice.
Maybe that'll be a future side hustle, making TikToks.
Yeah, it can be very, very lucrative, I've heard.
Right.
Steve-O, hey. And Yvette actually has a question. Before we leave, you want to answer this one? What was your motivation behind choosing Facebook Marketplace?
The low fees.
Yes.
So, I started selling on Facebook Marketplace, like doing local sales when I started. And at this point in time, like that is not a good use of my time to coordinate with people when to meet up and then wait for them if they're late and all of that. So I don't do much of the local sales anymore. But then Facebook started offering shipping directly through their platform. And they started out, they had no fees to try to attract sellers and buyers to the platform. And it worked. They got me. They reeled me in. So then I was doing a lot on that. And then in 2021 of this year, they implemented their fees. It's like 5% and some change because they calculate it based off of like shipping and tax too, not just your listed price. But for me, like them taking less in fees means that I price my items lower. And for people who are shopping online, who are maybe they're comparison shopping, and then they see, oh, the price is cheapest on Facebook, they buy it on there, and then I make more money. So that's always a good thing.
Yeah, that's the same mentality for index funds, right? The low-cost index funds.
Mhm.
But so we've got Evan. Hey, thanks for stopping by. Bama picking and grinning. Thanks for stopping by. We're about to leave.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
great
everyone
timing.
came right at the end.
The Hoogs.
You have to
Watch
watch the
the
replay.
replay.
Yeah, watch the replay. So thank you so much, Amber, and thank you everyone, especially Glamma, for our first super chat.
Yeah.
We appreciate you all for joining us, and we hope that you come back monthly. We are doing this once a month. We've got the college picker next month, and the Hoogs coming in January to ring up the new year. That's going to be very exciting. So thank you so much again, Amber. We really appreciate your time, and we really appreciate that everyone's here. We'll see you later.
Bye.
Bye.